Let's look at React in this video. It's a huge JavaScript library, and it's quite widely used in the front-end development, and it's a wanted tool, and there are a lot of job opportunities in React if you know that skill set, which is based on JavaScript. Let's have a look into it. So basically, React is a JavaScript library, and it's was developed by Facebook, and it's widely used in the web development and building user interfaces. It is often referred to as declarative, efficient, and flexible library for creating interactive and dynamic. I emphasize dynamic user interfaces, and it's particularly popular for building single-page applications where user interacts with the page without requiring a full load. That is, if you have a web page, if you want only a partial part of the web page to be updated quite often or depending on the situation, then React is the best tool to use. So in React, we have components, and React applications are built using components. So components are nothing but self-contained reusable units that represent different parts of a user interface. That is, each component, each block, or each like in Amazon you have different sections. Each one is very independent of each other, and it's built. It's a self-contained and reusable unit, which is quite a useful feature. And components can be either functional component or a class component. So keep this in mind. Functional components, which are simple JavaScript functions, and class components are ES6 classes. So I'm not going to detail, just an introduction about it. Keep this in mind. Later we'll go into depth. So React is basically built using components, and components can be functional components or class components. And functional components are JavaScript functions, and class components are ES6 classes. So in React, we have declarative syntax, and React uses declarative syntax. That is, what it means is it allows the developers to describe how the UI should look based on the application state. So depending on the application state, the syntax is defined. This is in contrast to imperative programming, where you specify step-by-step process to achieve the result. So this we will see more in the when we come to examples. So as a book definition, just keep in mind that React uses declarative syntax, which allows the developers to describe how the user UI should look based on the application state. So virtual DOM, document object model, DOM is document object model, is a quite important feature of React, and React uses virtual DOM to optimize the rendering process. And instead of updating the entire DOM when a change occurs, React updates certain parts of the web pages or virtual representation of the DOM first, and then calculates the most efficient way to update the actual DOM. So first it updates the virtual DOM and keeps it somewhere, and then in the appropriate time or appropriate efficient way, it updates the actual DOM. So this feature is quite important in React. It also comes up in interviews, and also it's a very important concept for you to understand the concept behind how React is able to update certain parts of a web page. Another important feature is JavaScript XML, JSX. React uses JSX, a syntax extension of JavaScript, which allows you to write HTML-like code within your JavaScript files. And JSX makes it more intuitive to describe the structure of your components. So JSX is a similar something like XML. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to write HTML-like code within your JavaScript files. So that's what JSX is used for. And unidirectional data flow. React uses unidirectional data flow, also known as one-way data binding. That is, it means the data flows in only one direction, that is from parent components to the child components. This helps in maintaining clear and predictable state management. So the data flows only from parent to child components. That is unidirectional data flow in React. So another point is component lifecycle. Class components in React have a lifecycle method that allow developers to run code at a specific phase of component's existence. that is such as when it is first mounted or when it's about to be removed from the DOM. So component lifecycle, what it means is, in the concept itself, it says the class components in React have a specific method that allow the developers to run code at a specific phase of component's existence, such as when first mounted or when it's to be removed in the DOM. State and props. React components have a local state, allowing them to manage and store data that can change over time. And props, short for properties, props means properties, are used to pass the data from parent to the child components. So 2 points, state and props. React components have a local state, allowing them to manage and store the data that can change over time. So React components have a state and it can manage and store the data which changes over time. And properties or props is used to pass the data from the parent to the child component. Another important feature is React Router is a library that provides navigation and routing capabilities for the React applications. It basically enables the creation of single page application with multiple views. So that's another feature which is quite useful in React. So another important feature is Redux. Redux is a state management library. It's a library commonly used in React to manage the application state in a predictable and centralized manner. And it provides a single source of truth information for your application's data, making it easy. So the application's data is managed all in Redux, and it is a sort of a library which is managing the application of the React. So React hooks, it's introduced in 16.8 and are functions that enable you to use the state and other React features in a functional component without needing to use the class components. Hooks basically simplify the component logic and encourage the reuse of stateful logic across components. So React hooks is quite important. You need to learn more about that and get the concepts right. So it's basically used to enable makes you enable you to use this use state and other React features in functional components without using the class. So it makes you can use it with the functional components without the class components, and it simplifies the component logic. Styled components is a CSS in JS library that is a cascading style sheet in JavaScript library that allows you to write CSS styles directly in your JavaScript code, and it offers a convenient way to encapsulate styles and with individual components. So it's a sort of you can write the CSS code inside the JavaScript code, which is quite handy in writing. Normally we have the CSS as a separate file, or in the HTML you can write CSS styles. So in JavaScript, to make to write CSS inside JavaScript library, it's a JavaScript code itself, you have the CSS in JS library, which is quite handy. Next.js is also a JavaScript popular framework built on top of React that adds features such as server-side rendering and the static site generation and routing capabilities out of the box. It simplifies the process of building production-ready React applications. So basically, you can create React applications, and Next.js helps you to run over it, which is quite a useful module.